I'm back. All right, so what I want to do in this video is talk a little bit about elasticity and what it means. And I get it, elasticity can be confusing sometimes. There's a lot that goes into it, but I think one of the biggest misconceptions that tricks people up is they just don't understand what elasticity is. Like if I were to ask you, how would you define elasticity right now? What would you say? And the simplest way for me is just not to overcomplicate it. Elasticity, econ aside, when I think here elasticity, what do I think of? I mean, I personally think of like a rubber band, something that's very stretchy, you can change a lot, and that's pretty similar. It's something that's very interchangeable, has lots of substitutes. So, for example, let's say I go to the store, okay, and I'm shopping, and I try to stay healthy, and if I'm at the store, I'm gonna draw this. This is gonna be fun. Okay, so let's say I'm at the store, and I'm in the store, and this is like the bakery section, and you've got all these different little stands of food. Okay, and people just kind of maneuver their way through, right, and pick out what they want. And so let's say right here, you've got like, I don't know, you got like bagels, you've got bread, here you've got like muffins, here you've got, I don't know, your cakes, here you've got, I don't know, other pastries. I don't know, what are some other breakfast pastry things? You could probably, here's more bread. I'll say English muffins. Okay, so lots of different options. And we're gonna label this whole area as like your, we'll call this baked goods, okay? And then within each little stand, they've got like a bunch of different kinds of like flavors and like gluten-free and different kinds of brands, cheap quality, high quality, everything. Just all kinds of different flavors at each respective area. So let's say I go to the store, and as I said, I try to eat kind of healthy. And I want to get like this brand of like whole wheat, like multi-grain, 12 seed muffin. I don't know. Yeah. Banana nut muffins. Okay. And I go to the store, and normally I buy them, but for whatever reason, just that brand, just the whole wheat banana nut muffin, 12 seed, whatever, has gone up by $1. Used to be $4, now it's $5. Everything else at that store is still the exact same price. What would you do? And I don't love them. Like I just eat it just because I think it's a good thing for me. But there's other whole wheat muffins, other brands. There's like the Great Value brand. There's just other flavors of muffins that are also whole wheats. There's the white bread muffins. There's also bagels and bread. So if the price of it increases by $1, do you think I would still buy that good? Probably not. I would probably, or to make it even more dramatic, let's say it increases by $5. Okay. So instead of $4, it's $9. I'm definitely not going to buy that good. I'll find a substitute for it. That's in this case, this is an example of something that's very elastic. It's very changeable. Okay. It's substitutable because there's lots of alternatives for it. So now, let's say I go to the store, and instead of just, like we talked about, this little brand of muffins increasing by $5, and there's still this one, that's the exact same price, that hasn't changed. So like there's still the exact, haven't changed at all. What if every baked good increased by $1 or $5? Now I know what some of you might be thinking. because we're college students. Well, I'm just going to go to a different store. I'm just going to go buy. I'm at Walmart, I'm going to go to Smith's or Macy's or something. But what if every store, everywhere, all the baked goods increased by $5? Would you still buy the baked goods? Now, some of you probably still might not. You might just I'll just make it myself. But I would argue you're much more inclined to buy the baked goods if they've increased by $5 than just the previous example where just the whole wheat muffins increased by $5. Or especially if they increased by $1, I bet a lot of you would still pay for it. So this is an example of something that's inelastic. It doesn't matter if there's a change in price. You're still going to buy that quantity. I think a really good example of this is gas. Lots of us drive cars. We fill up. For me, I have a Honda Accord that I drive. It's 12 gallons. When I go to the gas station, I fill up all 12, okay? And I obviously I want cheap prices, but it doesn't matter if it's $6 a tank for gas or if it's $2. I'm going to fill up my whole 12. And that's something that's inelastic. There's no substitute for gas in this case. There's very few. But, for example, there's lots of substitutes for whole wheat muffins. So that's elasticity in a nutshell. So just to understand it a little bit better. And so when we're looking at elasticity, we have our equation, which is going to be, so we have our demand / supply elasticity. And that's percent change in quantity over percent change in price, which using the midpoint method is just another way of saying Q2 minus Q1 over Q2 plus Q1 divided by 2 all over P2 minus P1 P2 plus P1 divided by 2. So if I were to solve this, that would give me some number. And that would be my elasticity in this case. Okay. Now, let's say how do we know what's more elastic, what's more inelastic in this case? So we have -1 and 1. So any number that's between, any elasticity that's between -1 and 1, we're going to call it inelastic. Okay? Anything that's greater than 1 is elastic. So it doesn't matter if it's -50 compared to something that's -0.5. The -50 is more elastic because the further away from 0 we are, the more elastic it is. And the reason behind this is because your demand elasticity is always going to be negative. Because if we think of a demand curve, your demand is always sloping down, which is why it's always going to be a negative elasticity, your demand elasticity. And your supply elasticity is always going to be positive because your supply is always sloping up. So don't pay too much attention to the signs when we're looking at the elasticity of demand and supply. All that matters is how far away from 0 it is. And so if it's greater than 1, it's elastic. If it's less than 1, if it's less than -1, it's also elastic. But in between 1 and 1, it is inelastic. Okay, in the next video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about cross-price elasticity and income elasticity, which are two different equations when looking at elasticity. And then in another video, I'm also going to talk about the characteristics of something that's elastic versus inelastic and how we can tell. So I recommend watching this video first. And let me know if you have any questions. Adam out.